My wife said she wanted to rebuild trust. What she really built was a surveillance system with a wedding ring on it. That's probably the cleanest way to describe how I ended up writing daily emotional reports, like an overworked intern documenting his own existence. We've been together for 7 years, married for 5, long enough to collect bad habits, inside jokes that aged poorly, and a shared talent for pretending small problems aren't problems at all. Our big crisis wasn't a dramatic bombshell. No cheating, no secret hotel rooms. It was more subtle, annoyingly subtle. The kind of damage couples cause when they still want to stay together, but also want to feel young, desirable, interesting to someone else, even just for a moment. She flirted with a bartender twice. I let a coworker's compliments linger a bit longer than necessary. She enjoyed being noticed at parties. I enjoyed feeling admired, even if it was harmless. We both claimed it was innocent, and it was. But innocence is a slippery slope when both sides are insecure and tired. We had the same argument on loop. I don't want you to stop being friendly. I just want to know where the line is. I don't cross any lines. Maybe not intentionally, but you lean. You lean too. You know that stage of marriage where nobody is technically doing anything wrong, but somehow everything still feels wrong? That was us. We tried the usual solutions, talking more, talking less, date nights, space, honesty, selective honesty, declaring new rules, breaking those rules because they were unrealistic. Nothing stuck for more than a week. One evening, after a mild argument about something ridiculous, I think it was whether she laughed too much at a coworker's joke, she sat down next to me on the couch with her therapist posture straight back. Hands clasped, voice soft but prepared. "I've been thinking," she said. "That sentence in marriage means trouble, no exceptions. I don't want us to keep circling the same drain," she continued. "We get jealous, we reassure each other, then we drift. Then we joke about other people noticing us. Then we drift again." "That's marriage," I said. "That's dysfunction," she corrected. "That's also marriage," I said. She ignored it. "We need transparency," she said. "Not assumptions, not guessing. I want clarity between us, and I think I know how. If someone says I have a system, run. I didn't run. I stayed like an idiot." She explained how she'd heard on a podcast that couples struggling with trust microfractures, yes, that was the term, sometimes use accountability tools, not therapy, not rules, tools. Something like a mutual agreement, a structure for honesty, a shared commitment to visibility. "A faithfulness contract," she said, trying to sound casual. What now?" I blinked. "Not a legal thing," she clarified. "Just a document where we outline what we expect from each other. Daily check-ins, emotional transparency, reflections. It keeps us connected." "So, a marriage report card?" I said. "No," she replied. "More like a guide, a framework." "Does it come with a user manual? Why can't you take anything seriously?" Because the idea of signing my loyalty on paper felt insane. That's why. Still, she looked genuinely hopeful, not manipulative, just tired. Tired of misreading my tone. Tired of me misreading her silence. Tired of feeling insecure. And I was tired too. "Fine," I said. "Draft your contract, I'll read it." "It's for both of us," she insisted. "Mutual transparency." "Mutual," I echoed. She nodded. The next night she returned with 3 stapled pages, not a list, not bullet points. 3 full pages, formatted like an office policy. Bold title, "The Faithfulness Contract." "You really committed to the theme," I said. "If we're doing this," she replied, "we're doing it properly." She sat beside me, adjusting her glasses like she was about to present a quarterly report. "Okay," she said, "let's begin." Section 1. Daily Reports. Each partner agrees to write a short daily summary including social interactions, notable conversations, emotional states that may influence the relationship. "So I basically email you the patch notes for my life," I said. It doesn't have to be long, she replied. Just honest. Section 2. Emotional transparency. Both partners agree to disclose. Moments of feeling distant, frustration, resentment, confusion, instances of external validation affecting mood. In plain English, I said, I tell you if someone made me feel attractive. Yes, she said, and I tell you too. You will? I asked. Yes, she repeated. Section 3. Access to communication. Upon request, each partner provides reasonable access to messages or conversations to reduce uncertainty. So we're doing random audits, I said. A fun new phase. It's optional, she said, but helpful. Helpful for who? For us. That us was already shrinking. Section 4. Weekly reflection. Once a week, each partner writes a reflection on emotional closeness, conflicts, and boundary concerns. So now we have homework, I said. Should we also get grades? Please don't mock this, she said, her voice tightening. I looked at her. She'd clearly spent hours on this thing. Typed it, formatted it, underlined parts. I softened. Okay, I said. I'm listening. At the bottom of the last page, she had already signed her name. Under it, for mutual trust and healing. She passed me the pen. I signed, then added beneath it, for scientific observation of one exhausted husband. She read it with a sigh, but something in her face relaxed. You're impossible, she said. But cooperative, I said. She almost smiled. That night I stared at the ceiling and thought, if trust needs this many instructions, maybe we've already lost the simple version of it. But I told myself we could fix it. We both still cared. We both still wanted this marriage to work. Daily notes sounded easy enough. The first week of daily reports felt almost harmless. A little weird, a little awkward, like we were playing a grown-up version of show and tell, but manageable. My first report said, had coffee with Sarah from accounting. Talked about deadlines, worked late. Felt a little disconnected, but mostly tired. Remembered our last trip and thought we should plan something new. She read it and wrote, thanks for writing this. I appreciate it. Her own report was shorter. Yoga after work. Felt tense but better later. Chatted with a friend online about job stress. Thinking a lot about how we can improve things. I told myself her brevity was normal. She wasn't a long-winded person. But by day 6, her tone changed. Less thank you, more, why did you write it like that? And suddenly it dawned on me. We didn't build a bridge, we built a microscope, and I was the slide. Then week 2 happened. And week 2 was when the tone shifted from, we're healing, to, your paragraphs have inconsistencies. It started on a Tuesday night. I sent my usual report. Coffee with Sarah from accounting. Talked about the new software update. Worked on compiling monthly data. Felt frustrated in the afternoon, not because of anything at home. Just work traffic sucked on the way back. Came home, made pasta. Watched 2 episodes of that documentary. 10 minutes later, she walked into the living room, holding her phone like a detective holding evidence. Who exactly is Sarah? Why do you drink coffee with her every morning? She asked. Sarah from accounting, I said. The one who hates spreadsheets but somehow works with spreadsheets. And why did you write her name first? Because that's the sequence of my day. Coffee in the morning, frustration in the afternoon, traffic at night, chronological order. You could have written, had coffee with a coworker. I could have written had coffee, period. But I was being honest. She squinted at me like my honesty was the suspicious part. So, I said, are we doing the thing where we interpret punctuation now? I'm trying to understand your tone. It's bullet points. Bullet points don't have tone. If they did, I'd give them a performance review. She didn't laugh. Not great. Wednesday, I sent another report meeting with the team. Quick conversation with Mark about his upcoming trip. Lunch alone at my desk. Thought a lot about how we've been lately. Felt tired. She wrote back, tired from what? From who? From work, I texted, and from being a human being. She left that message on scene. Apparently, I needed to specify the source of my exhaustion like I was filing an insurance claim Thursday. She asked if she could add comments to my report, not verbally, inside the report, in parentheses, like edits from a demanding editor who hates joy. Felt annoyed during lunch. Why? You didn't explain? Talked with Mark? How long? Went for a walk to clear my head. From what, exactly? I stared at the edited version like it was a test I didn't study for. I told her, "You know this is starting to feel like homework." "It's just engagement," she said. "It means I care." "Engagement?" I repeated. "That's what YouTube creators want in their comment sections, not husbands." "You wanted transparency," she reminded me. "I wanted normal transparency," I said, "not CCTV footage of my emotions." She folded her arms. "This is how trust is built." "No," I said. "This is how employees quit." Friday. My report that day said, "The barista smiled at me when I ordered coffee. Pretty sure she does that to everyone." 2 minutes later, she came to me, arms crossed. "Why did you add that?" she asked. "Add what?" "The barista." "Why mention her at all?" "Because the contract said to mention moments of external validation, and she validated my caffeine order." "That's not funny." "It's a little funny." Her expression didn't move. "Fine," I said. It was a meaningless interaction. She asked if I wanted a receipt. That was the emotional climax. "You wrote it," she said, "because you wanted me to react." "Or," I said slowly, "because I'm literally following the rules." Meanwhile, her reports got shorter. Much shorter. Examples from that week. Yoga, tired, lunch with Emma fine, feeling off. Will explain later. Stressful day, thinking, want to talk soon. The asymmetry grew louder every day, but whenever I asked, "Can you be more specific?" she always replied the same, "My days just aren't as complicated as yours," which felt like the polite version of, "Stop asking." Week 3. At some point I realized something strange. My inner thoughts had started formatting themselves as report bullet points. Annoyed at printer. Unclear if emotional significance. Saw a friendly coworker. Must specify if eye contact lasted more than 1 second. Felt confused. Source of confusion. Undetermined. Will expand later. It was like living inside a document. I'd be in the supermarket thinking, if the cashier jokes about coupons, is that an interaction I report? If I smile back, does it count as external validation affecting mood? I didn't know anymore. By week 3, I wasn't living my life. I was filing reports on it, and she seemed almost calmer, more stable, more certain. Like she finally got the structure she always wanted. Like the contract gave her a remote control, and I came with a user manual. I started noticing little things. She'd read my reports before I even finished brushing my teeth. She'd memorized details. She'd remind me of something I forgot to mention. Her corrections began sounding less like engagement and more like oversight. Not once did she miss a day of checking mine, and not once did she write more than 5 sentences in her own. The imbalance was starting to feel less accidental and more intentional. It happened on a quiet Sunday. She was reviewing my report, literally reviewing it, like an editor cutting my scenes for clarity. She circled a line with her finger. "You said you felt distant in the afternoon?" she said. "What triggered it?" "I don't know," I said. "Just a feeling." "Feelings come from somewhere." "Sometimes they come from having feelings," I said. She didn't blink. "I need more detail." "You need an autobiography," I said, "and you're being defensive." "No," I replied. "I'm being tired." "Tired from what?" she asked. And that was the moment I realized the contract was no longer a mutual tool. It was an interrogation, soft voice, calm tone, but everything I said was cross-examined. She wasn't looking for trust. She was looking for confirmation that she hadn't missed anything, and I don't cheat on her with anyone. And something inside me clicked. This wasn't working. Not for either of us. Before I could think more about it, another thought hit me. If this whole thing was supposed to be about mutual trust, then why could she write 2 sentences, while I had to write a whole novel every night? That question would be the beginning of everything that came next. The next day, it escalated in a way I didn't expect. I came home, dropped my phone on the table, and took a shower. When I came back, the phone wasn't where I left it. Moved just slightly, like someone nudged it and put it back without the exactness of a forensic expert. She was sitting on the couch reading a book, looking calm, composed, almost peaceful. And that calmness was the biggest alarm bell so far. She hadn't asked to check my phone. She didn't say a word about it. She just quietly did it and continued her evening as if it were part of our household routine. Like cleaning the dishes, or watering plants, or verifying her husband's digital footprint. That night during dinner, she asked me a question that didn't match anything in my reports. Do you ever feel like someone at work pays you too much attention? The question was too sharp to be spontaneous. Why are you asking? I said. No reason. Just thinking. Did I write something that suggested that? You said you felt a bit distant yesterday. That wasn't about anyone. It could be you just don't want to say it. Saturday was the moment everything fully clicked. I wrote my report late, around midnight. Ran errands, grocery store, laundry, watched a movie. Quiet day. She came into the room a few minutes later. You forgot something, she said. What did I forget? You talked to the cashier at the supermarket. She asked if I had a loyalty card, I said, and you didn't mention it. You want me to report loyalty card conversations now? I want honesty. That landed like a cold splash of water. Because honesty wasn't the issue. The issue was that she had started assuming that whatever I didn't include was the very thing she needed to worry about. It didn't matter how detailed or boring my reports were. She wasn't looking for information. She was looking for omissions, looking for patterns, looking for subtext, looking for a story that didn't exist. And once someone believes there's a hidden message, they'll read it even in blank pages. That was the moment I realized the contract wasn't fixing anything. It was feeding the insecurity we were supposed to heal. And the worst part? I didn't know how to bring this up without it sounding like another thing she'd add to her list of concerning behavior. By the end of that week, I wasn't afraid of breaking the contract. I was afraid of being misinterpreted by it. And that fear was the beginning of everything that followed. By the time Sunday night rolled in, I hit a point I didn't expect to reach. I was tired of answering follow-up questions about people I barely remembered interacting with. Tired of feeling like my own life was being checked for hidden subtitles. And somewhere between that mental exhaustion and another long sigh from her direction, a simple thought came to me. If this contract was supposed to be mutual, then why was I the only one living under a microscope? So I asked her the question that had been sitting in my throat for days. Can I see your report tonight? She paused. A real pause. The kind where you see a person's brain go through 12 different answers before choosing the safest one. My day wasn't interesting, she said finally. That's okay, I answered. I just want to see it. She gave a tiny laugh, the kind people use when they're both nervous and trying to appear casual. It's really not worth reading. I read all of yours, I said. She didn't even blink. That's different. How is it different? I asked. My days are simple, she said. There's nothing to write. Yours have more situations. I stared at her. Situations? You mean living like a normal adult? She shifted in her seat. I just think you should be more detailed, that's all. That sentence made my blood pressure go up by 20 points. I didn't struggle with boundaries, I said. We both were insecure. That's why we made the contract. She folded her arms, suddenly defensive. You were the one who flirted back, she said. I just enjoyed attention sometimes. We both enjoyed attention sometimes. And I told you everything, she said sharply. That was the moment it clicked. Not dramatically, not like a revelation, more like a quiet puzzle piece sliding into place. She didn't believe she needed the same rules I did. In her mind, only my behavior needed monitoring. She didn't see herself as risky. She saw herself as responsible, not a suspect, a supervisor. And that's when the idea came to me. Let's make it equal, I said. Equal how? We both fill out the same report, same questions, same structure, same details. She hesitated again. I don't think that's necessary, she said. That was not the answer of someone with nothing to hide. That was the answer of someone who hates audits, only when the audit is on them. It's necessary if the contract is mutual, I replied. She opened her mouth, closed it, then opened it again. Fine, she said. If it makes you feel better? It didn't make me feel better, it just made things clear. That night I quietly printed an updated version of the contract. I didn't change much, just one section. Section 7. Equal reporting. Both partners must report with equal level of detail. Both partners must answer clarifying questions. Both partners must provide context when asked, no exceptions. I slid the paper to her the next morning. You updated it? She asked. Just one small addition. She skimmed it, didn't read it fully. She never read things fully when she assumed they benefited her. Okay, she said, signing her name at the bottom like it was the most irrelevant part of her day. She handed the contract back to me and walked into the kitchen to make tea. If she'd actually looked at me in that moment, she would have realized she'd just added shackles to her own wrists. But she didn't look. The next day, I asked for her report. Now? She said. Yes. She sighed, picked up her phone, and typed something quickly. The digital equivalent of a child's homework written in the Uber on the way to school. She handed me the screen. Her report was nothing. Yoga, lunch, emails, nothing unusual. It was incredibly empty, a skeleton of a day. I looked at her. That's really all? Yes. No details? No. Who did you eat lunch with? She frowned. Why does that matter? Because lunch with someone is a social interaction. She hesitated. Emma, she said finally, you didn't write that. I forgot. You didn't forget, you skipped it. Her expression hardened. You're interrogating me. I'm following the rules you created. That's not fair. You're right, I said. It hasn't been fair for a while. She looked at me the way people look at an appliance that suddenly stops working, confused, frustrated, and personally offended. I handed her phone back gently. We'll go over it tonight, I said. She didn't reply, but the panic in her eyes was louder than any words. The next day was worse. Her second report was a mess. Clipped sentences, vague timing, missing names, unexplained gaps. If mine were too detailed, hers were suddenly too blurry. It wasn't the report of someone innocent. It was the report of someone trying not to reveal anything at all. The contract worked perfectly as long as she wasn't the one being observed. But now that she had to follow her own rules, she couldn't do it, not even for 2 days. And that was the first moment I realized. Something was wrong. In the way she resisted being seen with the same clarity she demanded from me. She didn't want equality. She wanted a one-way mirror, and she had just signed the contract that would expose it. 2 days into the equal reporting agreement, it became painfully obvious that she wasn't prepared for equality. My questions got sharper. Her answers got slower. And the more she tried to sound casual, the more her casualness sounded like she was reading lines off a script she barely rehearsed. Thursday was the day everything snapped into focus. She sent her report at 8:17 p.m., yoga, traffic, grocery shopping, home, tired, no details, no names, no timeline. The kind of report you write when you want to say something, but not anything specific. I stared at it, then asked the most basic follow-up. "What time was yoga today?" She replied, "Same as always." Which is, "You know the schedule," she wrote. I didn't, actually. She switched yoga studios every few months. Classes moved around. Sometimes she went in the morning, sometimes in the evening. "Just tell me the time," I texted. She waited almost 10 minutes before replying. 6 p.m. Fair enough. Except, something about that answer didn't sit right. Not because of the time itself, but because of how long it took her to remember a class she allegedly attends weekly. I wouldn't have thought twice about it if the universe didn't decide to drop something in my lap an hour later. I was paying some bills online when I noticed something odd. A bank notification, a small one, barely noticeable. Cafe Velvet Room, 1742 Velvet Room. A place we used to go together, a place with dim lights, soft music, booths for two. A place very much not in the same direction as her yoga studio. 1742. 17 minutes before her 6 p.m. yoga class. I stared at the screen. At first, I didn't jump to any conclusions. I didn't think cheating, that wasn't our story. It wasn't even the kind of place where you meet someone in secret, but it was the kind of place where you go to feel noticed, seen, validated. A place where someone compliments your new hair, asks how your day was, makes you feel charming. The kind of place she used to drag me to back when we were still trying. And she didn't mention it in her report. Not a word. Not stopped for coffee. Not grabbed a snack. Not met Emma before yoga. Just nothing. I stared at the timestamp again. 1742. Not enough time to sit, order, enjoy a drink, and get to yoga by 6 p.m. Not without rushing. Not without changing outfits. Not without skipping the stretching warm-up she always insisted was essential. The numbers didn't add up. It wasn't what she did. It was the fact she hid it. And suddenly the report she sent started looking different. Not vague. Not sloppy. Strategic. Like someone who realized the system she built worked great as long as she wasn't the one being observed. I sat there for a long moment, staring at the receipt, not angry, not shocked, just clear, crystal clear. She wasn't being honest, not even close. And the irony punched me in the face. The faithfulness contract wasn't exposing me. It was exposing her, not her infidelity, her insecurity, her need for control, her inability to follow the rules she demanded from me. So I added one simple line to my own report that night. Today I learned something important. Trust doesn't need paperwork, but honesty does. I didn't bring it up. I didn't confront her. I didn't show her the receipt. I didn't say anything at all. For the first time since we started the contract, I let silence do the talking. By the fourth day of equal reporting, the situation wasn't just tense. It was off. Something in her demeanor had shifted. She wasn't annoyed anymore. She was scared, not of me, of exposure, and it showed in the smallest, stupidest details. When she typed her daily report, she held the phone like she was defusing a bomb. When I walked into the room, she locked the screen as if muscle memory betrayed her. When I asked simple questions like, "Who did you have lunch with?" she blinked too slowly, the way people do when they're searching for the least dangerous truth. The thing is, nothing she did screamed guilt. It screamed avoidance. Thursday evening, I asked casually, "Did you go to the store today?" She nodded too quickly. "Yes, the usual place." "Which one?" She blinked. The one near the office." "There are two near your office," she swallowed. "The closer one." I didn't push, I didn't need to. Her voice had a quiver, not of guilt, but of someone who suddenly realized she needed to keep track of which lies she told yesterday. She walked away before I could ask anything else. The next day, she forgot her phone on the table when she went to the bathroom. That alone was unusual. She always kept it glued to her, and no, I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. Because the lock screen lit up with a notification. Your order at Velvet Room is confirmed. A reservation. Not the purchase I'd seen earlier. She came back and grabbed the phone so fast she knocked over a napkin holder. I need to respond to something, she said, pretending nothing happened. But for the first time she was rattled. Not by me. By her own pattern, the Velvet Room wasn't a secret lover's den. It was a place she liked being admired. A place where the staff remembered her name. Where the waiter complimented her earrings. Where she felt interesting. But she didn't want that in the reports. Because she didn't want to admit she needed that kind of attention. Not to me. Not to herself. So she hid it. The next morning, while she was making breakfast, I asked, "Are you going to rewrite yesterday's report?" She froze mid-stir. "What? Why?" "You left out the place you went after work." She didn't turn around. "I don't have to report literally everything. But you make me do it." She set down the spoon slowly, her shoulders tensed, her breath catching just a little. "I don't like this," she said quietly. "I don't either. This isn't healthy." "It wasn't healthy when you did it to me." She turned around, eyes sharp, voice trembling. "I wasn't hiding anything." Neither was I. And there it was, the point she'd been avoiding for weeks. Her fear wasn't that I'd catch something big. That I'd see the part of her that still needed outside validation. The part she pretended didn't exist. She stood there gripping the countertop, eyes wide, breath shaky, like she was waiting for me to accuse her of something she couldn't name. I kept my voice calm. Not angry, not dramatic, just steady. "Okay," I said quietly. "Let's stop pretending this is about my reports." She opened her mouth, ready to argue, but I kept going. "You say you're not hiding anything. Fine. Then let's walk through this." Her jaw tightened. "First," I said, "you told me you were at yoga at 6. "I was," she snapped. "No," I said, "you weren't." She froze. "You were at Velvet Room at 5:42. That's 17 minutes before your class supposedly started. And Velvet Room isn't on the way. You'd have to go in the opposite direction." Her face drained a little. "That was just—" "I'm not done." She shut her mouth. "Second," I continued, "you didn't mention going there at all, not yesterday, not the day before, not once. You don't need to know every little thing I do," she said, raising her voice a little. "But I had to report every little thing I did?" I raised an eyebrow, including whether a barista smiled at me. That was different. "How?" I asked. She didn't answer. "And then," I said, "there was the reservation notification this morning. Another visit to Velvet Room today. You didn't mention that either." "That's none of your business." "It became my business the minute you forced me to write essays about my mood swings," I said calmly. "You made it the system, not me." Her chin trembled, just slightly. "You're twisting this," she whispered. "No," I said. "I'm reading the same contract you handed me, and for 3 weeks, you tore me apart over missing a line about a cashier." I stepped closer, not threatening, just clear. "And now you're the one hiding places you go, times you go, people you meet. You can't even keep your own story straight." "That's not fair," she whispered. "What's not fair," I said, "is that you put me under a microscope. And when the microscope turns around, you fall apart." She closed her eyes like she wanted the floor to open up and swallow her. "I can't do this," she said. "This whole thing, this contract, it's too much. You didn't think it was too much when I was the only one following it." She didn't respond, so I kept going. "I won't do," I said, voice low and even, "is live under a system where I get audited for breathing wrong while you get to hide half your life because it's not important." She stepped back. "What are you saying?" she whispered. "I'm saying I'm done," I said. "I'm done explaining myself. I'm done filing emotional tax reports. I'm done being the one who gets interrogated while you get to write fairy tale summaries of your day." Her hands trembled, not dramatically, just enough to show the crack in her composure. "You can't just quit," she said. "We agreed." "No," I said. "You agreed. I complied. That's not the same thing." She stared at me like she didn't recognize the person in front of her. And maybe she didn't. Because for the first time since this whole experiment began, I wasn't the one defending myself. I wasn't the one being examined. I was the examiner, and she couldn't handle it. Before she could come up with another excuse, another rationalization, another emotional detour, I said the words that ended the illusion. "I don't want to live like this anymore." I didn't leave in anger. I left in clarity. For a few days after I walked out, we barely spoke. She sent long messages, explanations, half apologies, arguments, then more explanations. Every one of them read like another daily report, structured, defensive, edited. None of them felt real. On the 7th day, I filed for divorce. No speech, no confrontation, no dramatic last try, just paperwork. The only paperwork I was willing to sign. She called when she got the notice. Her voice was small, shaken, the way someone sounds when the thing they tried hardest to control finally slips out of their hands. "This is really what you want?" she asked. "It's what I need," I said. There wasn't anything else to add. The contract didn't break our marriage. It just made the cracks impossible to ignore. If trust requires surveillance, if honesty requires daily check-ins, if being together feels like being monitored, then it isn't a marriage. So I closed that chapter the same way I survived it, quietly, cleanly, without another report to write, and I walked away. If you felt this story hit hard, drop a like, subscribe for more, and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support keeps Steelheart beating.